Hello and welcome to yesterday's Airlines. In this video we're going to take a look at the most recent set of ngmodels releases that arrived at the hangar. These come from the April announcements, which are the May models, and they arrived a week or so ago. And they are primarily Boeing 747SPs. In fact, they're all SPs in this video because I've already reviewed the Southwest Airlines 737 in a previous video. Check that one out if you haven't seen it already. Now, anyone who watches my material knows that I'm a big fan of the NG 747SP. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have any issues, but it does mean that it is the best 747SP that's been made in this scale. And I've bought most of the releases so far. In fact, adding these 4 means that I've got 7. Okay, well, seeing as she's front and center already, let's take a look at the United Airlines Battleship Grey release. This is the aircraft N145UA. Obviously, United acquired its 747SPs from Pan Am when it bought out their Pacific network. And in fact, that's the other NG I've got, the Pan Am one from last month. And so they only had a few, and I think only one or maybe 2, but definitely, I think there's only one, got into the Battleship Grey scheme, which was introduced in the mid-90s. It's never been a favourite scheme of mine. But how have ngmodels done on this bird? Well, broadly, it looks like a pretty good model, as you'd expect from NG, and all the detail is there. I love these striping detail on the wing fronts and underside. Again, you can see you've got silver belly where there needs to be, and you've got nice detailing throughout the aircraft here. So, as per usual, you can't really fault the detailing and the printing. I'm a big fan of this mold, and I think it's really attractive. Now, some people have brought up the shape of this area here, the undercurve of the nose, and how it's not quite correct. And I think they've probably got a point, but in my opinion, it's a very small point, and certainly in comparison to the alternative 747SPs, this one's knocking it out of the park, in my opinion. Not just because of that, but because you've got this excellent wing seam. You've got very, very fine engine pylon join here, which is much better than her. But the engine size is vastly superior to the Gemini and jcwings, where the engine's too small. And you've got a much better and detailed vertical stabilizer here as well. So all across the board, this is a great mold. And even if this underside angle is not 100% correct, certainly the cockpit area here is better than on the Gemini version. So I'm not going to talk too much about the molds throughout the rest of this. My opinion, I think they're good. Looking at this model, however, the thing that jumps out the most is the color. Battleship Grey is a remarkably difficult color scheme to get right in 400 scale, and I've just published an article on the website, check it out if you haven't seen it, talking about Battleship Grey and how every manufacturer has a different color variant for it in terms of this grey base color. NG here, I think, have got it too light by some distance, and it's a little bit browner than the real thing as well. So I'm not, thrilled by the colour here. I think it's probably not a lot worse than on the alternative older Gemini release, but it's not as good as some of the Battleship Grey fleet that I've got, and certainly it's very different to most of them. So I'm not sure NG have done wonders there. I think that if I was scoring this for colour, we're going to have to say that it knocks a few points off for that aspect. Having said that, the rest of the scheme's looking pretty good. Can't really fault too much what's going on here. And the tail especially looks really nice with the striping and the tulip logo, which I always think is too small on this scheme. So overall, I think this is a significant upgrade on the original Battleship Grey that was produced by Gemini, which I have also got, because I much prefer the mold. However, I don't think the colour's correct. So if colour's a massive issue, if you've got lots of other battleships to have this on display with, then perhaps that'll give you second thought. Up to you. Okay, that's the first one. So moving on, we'll take a look at the American Airlines next. Now, American only ever operated a pair of 747SPs in the 1980s. They picked those up secondhand, and I think, again, they may be ex-Pan Am machines, I'm not entirely certain. But nonetheless, this is a scheme which ngmodels does exceptionally well. Looking at it, it's beautiful. They've already done the 737 and the 757 in this scheme, and they also look excellent. I really, really like the livery, and I love the beautiful silver finish. It's, you know, one of the all-time greatest schemes, and it looks excellent on the SP, and I think that they've done an excellent job, and certainly don't have any reservations here about how the window line and the cheat lines, you know, join at the nose. I think this looks really, really, really good. So actually, this one, I don't think they've made any real issues with the scheme. Again, they've done it before. You've got the 747 luxury liner titles, which are nice, and you've got really, really, really good detailing across the whole model. The only thing I would say on this one is that there's a little bit of QC here. This is a bit loose. I'm sure I could pull it out if I really wanted to, but I'm not going to. But other than that, this one's looking pretty good, and I imagine if I did a detailed review on this one, it would score very, very highly. So can't really fault this one, and certainly seen as the alternatives again are the Gemini JC mold. To me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I don't think that mold rates in comparison to this one. I don't really see why you wouldn't get this one as the alternative. It's a much better mold, and they've got the colours and everything accurate, so no real issues there. Looks like and is a very attractive model. So really liking the SP in AA colours here. Okay, that leaves these two big boys over here. We've got VH-EAA and VH-EAB, both 747SPs in the Qantas delivery scheme, and you can see that they have this Qantas SP Australia scheme. It's got the old winged kangaroo. It's got the kind of sandy, yellowy, orange cheat line, and you know, these both at distance look like really nice renditions of that scheme. The models are different in the sense that this one is in the standard colours, and it's got the name down here, which I can't remember what it is, City of something and Tweed, but you've got the detailed logos down here, which they asked about in terms of how those look. The difference with the other one is that EAB, that it's obviously got a different name, but also it's got the official carrier of Brisbane, and I think that was the Commonwealth Games in 1982 there. So it's got that addition to it, and that's similar to my Qantas Gemini version, which also has the same scheme. It's the same reg, it's the same aircraft basically. So it makes an interesting comparison here, and this is one of the areas where, you know, I can give a quick comparison of the mold and why I think this mold is better. I mean, if you look at it side by side, you'll see that, in my opinion, if you look at the cockpit zone, then the cockpit on the NG is just a better shape. The windows on the SP for Gemini tend to seem to want to droop down the nose a little bit. I think that this one looks better at the nose, and obviously you've got that rather unsightly seam as well on the older Qantas mold. Now, something else which is clearly obvious when you look at these two together is the colour of the Qantas and the colour of the NG models in terms of the cheat line. So if we look at the Qantas version, you can see that it's a very light sandy colour, and if you look at the NG version, you can see that it's a much darker orangey kind of colour here, which is right. I have to say, in this case, I think the Qantas is probably, this livery is probably more accurate on the Gemini. I don't think, looking at pictures, that it was quite as orange as it is on the NG models version here. Having said that, it actually compares quite well to the Aero Classics models I've got in this livery, which is damning with faint praise really, because AC are known for getting the colours darker than they ought to be. So I think that NG have got the colours slightly wrong here in terms of the cheat line. I think that this is a better colour, and that may impact your decision about whether you buy it. For me, it's a bit of a no-brainer, because my my Gemini Qantas 747SP here is struggling to survive. You can probably just about see all these little bubbles that are appearing here and here, and under the underside as well, here. And also, I just noticed on the tail as well, it's beginning to bubble. It's a little hard to see on the camera, but it's definitely happening, which means this machine is there. You can see it, catch it there, degrading. Okay, so my Gemini release is, beginning to fall apart, which means I've got to replace it. This is a good replacement in my opinion, despite the color issue. So how much that bothers you is up to you. Another issue with the livery rendition on this one is the tail. You can see it's basically all red here. And in fact, that mirrors what's on the Gemini as well. That is also all red. They are both incorrect, to be honest. Now, it is true the aircraft did have this full red tail, but only before they were delivered on the Boeing flight line and in the official Boeing photographs. Later on, there was a white line which came across here and kind of hid this odd bulkhead bulge at the back of the SP. So the bottom of the tail would have been white for the majority of the service, and if you look at pictures, it always is. So I think that they probably should have put that on, seeing as this is supposed to be an in-service aircraft, you'd have thought. But Gemini have missed it as well, which is a shame. They've both missed it. I think that it doesn't really have a dramatic impact to the look of the model, but it's obviously not necessarily an in-service picture. It's the same with this one. Basically, it's the same aircraft, just with the added titles and different nose logo. And they've done a very nice job in terms of making that look good. It's hard actually to get it to focus on the camera. But generally, again, these are nice models, really nicely done. It's just a shame here that, they've made a bit of a mess of the color of this street line and this area. And so these aren't perfect by any means. They all come well built, actually, unlike the wobbly stabilizer on the American Airlines. Now, a friend of mine, Denny Payne, who's a big collector and a really nice guy, he also has questioned the shape of the cockpit windows on his SP. I actually don't really have a dramatic issue here, but he's of the opinion they don't look as good as the windows on the Gemini. I actually don't like the windows on the Gemini too much because they do look like they're kind of sloping down the nose cone. I don't have a big issue here. Having said that, they perhaps don't look exactly the same from both sides, and I'm not entirely certain that they're perfect either. So Denny may have a point there, but at the same time, it's not one that dramatically bothers me. And if I look at one of my older models, the Iranian one, then the windows don't look dramatically different if we compare the two side by side. Just to round up, we've got 4 SPs here, and you could argue that of these 4 SPs, the only one which actually is really correct is the American, and the others all have, issues. So, even NG are not gods. They make great models, but they're not always perfect. I'd say of these 4, the American is the best. Can't really see any major complaints with this one. I'd say that of the 4, arguably the other 3 all have flaws which may stop you from purchasing them. Having said that, I think that I'd still prefer them, and in fact I do prefer them to my Gemini versions. And even the Battleship Grey, which is very wrong grey, is still better than the grey and the mould as an overall package on the older Gemini version that I've got. So, as always, even with NG, it's a case of buyer beware. So, that's just a quick roundup of these 4 NG models, 747SPs. I hope you enjoyed the video. It'll be interesting to see how the TriStars next month turn out, and I'm sure that we'll be having a video on those. So thanks very much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the content, check out the website, yesterdaysairlines.com. Check out my Instagram at yesterdaysairlines, and check out the Facebook group and my Facebook page at Yesterday Airlines. See you later.